Welcome back to Mr. Cursed. What happened in California during October 2024? 7 people made deals they thought would save them. They were wrong. Tonight, I'm sharing the most bone-chilling October encounters from the Golden State stories, so dark you'll question what you'd do in their shoes. But first, hit that subscribe button and smash the like. Share this with your brave friends. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. Thank you all. Now, let's dive into the nightmare. I'm 34 years old, and I make costumes for a living. Historical pieces, mostly the kind of stuff you see in period films or big theater productions. I work out of a studio in my apartment in Silver Lake. Been doing it for 11 years now, and I'm good at it. Good enough that I pull in around 75 grand a year, which in LA means I can pay rent and eat, but not much else. I specialize in accuracy. Directors hire me because I get the details right, the exact buttons, the right fabric weight, the way a collar would have actually sat in 1890 or 1952. It's satisfying work, honestly. There's something meditative about recreating the past stitch by stitch. In early October 2024, I got an email through my Etsy shop from someone calling themselves Collector78. They wanted a reproduction of a specific 1,947 evening dress, attached 12 photos showing it from every angle. The dress was beautiful, all black rayon crepe with these delicate Bakelite buttons. They offered $12,000 for it, needed it finished by October 28th. I stared at that number for a long time. $12,000 for one dress. That's nearly 3 months of normal work. I ran a reverse image search on the photos, mostly out of curiosity, and my stomach dropped when the results came back. The dress had belonged to Elizabeth Short, the Black Dahlia. She'd worn it in photographs taken 2 weeks before someone murdered her in January 1947, the most famous unsolved murder in Los Angeles history. You grow up here, you know that case. Everyone knows that case. I emailed back asking if the client knew the dress's history. Collector78 responded within an hour. Yes, I'm aware. I collect replicas of garments worn by murder victims. I have 43 pieces currently. This would be number 44. I understand if you're uncomfortable, but the offer stands. I should have said no right there. I know that now. But my dad had been diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer 6 months earlier. And there was this experimental treatment his insurance wouldn't cover. $14,000. I'd been doing fundraisers, GoFundMe, everything I could think of, and I'd scraped together $2,800. This commission would give me $12,000. I'd only need $2,000 more. I couldn't say no. I told Collector78 I'd do it, but I wouldn't use any authentic materials, meaning I wasn't going to claim this was the real dress or anything like that. Pure reproduction, new fabric aged to look period appropriate. They agreed immediately and sent half the payment up front. $6,000 hit my account on October 2nd. I started work the next day. I spent a week sourcing everything. Found the exact rayon crepe, matched the original dye lot as closely as I could, tracked down correct Bakelite buttons through a collector in Ohio. I used museum archives to verify every detail, the way the darts were placed, the exact measurements of the hem, the interior finishing techniques common in 1947. It was the most accurate reproduction I'd ever attempted, and I was proud of it. If I'm being honest, I got a little obsessed. On October 10th, when I was assembling the bodice pieces, I noticed something odd. The fabric felt warm. Not like it had been sitting in sunlight. My studio doesn't get direct sun in the afternoons, but warm like skin temperature. And when I ran my fingers over it, the texture seemed to shift slightly, like it was moving under my hands. I figured I was tired. I'd been working 12-hour days. Stress and fatigue, that's all. By October 15th, the dress was about 80% complete. I put it on my dress form to check the drape, and I remember just standing there staring at it. It was beautiful, exactly like the archival photographs. The client was going to love it. The dress form I use is sized to my own measurements. I'm a pretty average size, 6. Makes it easy to check fit, and looking at the dress on the form, I realized it would fit me perfectly. That thought stayed with me. On October 18th, I was working late, probably close to midnight, and I couldn't stop looking at the dress hanging there on the form. I felt this overwhelming urge to try it on, just to see just to check the fit properly, make sure everything moved right. I told myself it was professional thoroughness, quality control. I unzipped it from the form. The dress slid on like it had been tailored specifically for my body. The zipper glided up easy, no catching. I looked in the full-length mirror in the corner of my studio and actually gasped. It fit like skin. With my dark hair and the dim lighting, I looked like I could have stepped out of a 1,940 seconds photograph. I looked at the clock on the wall. 11:47 p.m. When I looked back at the mirror, the reflection showed daylight behind me. Not my studio, an outdoor scene, bright afternoon Sunday. I blinked hard, looked at the clock again. Still, 11:47 p.m. My studio was dark except for my work lamp. But in the mirror, it was daytime. I raised my hand to my face. My reflection didn't move. Not right away. It stayed still for 2 full seconds while I stood there with my hand halfway up. Then it moved, but different. It waved, a little side-to-side wave, like greeting someone. I hadn't waved. I'd been touching my cheek. The reflection smiled at me. "You made it perfectly." The voice came from the mirror, not from my mouth. "Every stitch, exactly where mine were. You've connected us. I've been waiting 77 years for someone to recreate it this accurately." I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. The woman in the mirror, wearing the same dress, but moving independently, tilted her head. "Elizabeth Short," I whispered. She nodded. "Betty, I prefer Betty. You did beautiful work. The dress fits you like it fit me. We're the same size, same measurements. Did you know that when you started?" I tried to step backward. My legs wouldn't move. What dress held me in place, fabric tight against my skin, like it had fused there. "Don't be afraid," Betty said. "I'm not angry. I just want to show you. You made my dress. You should know what happened while I wore it." My vision went white. When it cleared, I was standing on a street corner. January cold bit through the thin fabric of the dress. A car pulled up, window rolling down, man inside asking if I needed a ride. I heard myself say yes, but it wasn't my voice. It was Betty's voice, and I was just a passenger in her body, unable to control anything. Just observing, feeling. The car drove to an empty lot. The man's expression changed. I felt Betty's fear rising in her chest, my chest, our chest, terror flooding through every nerve. The vision cut to black before the violence started. I gasped back into my studio, sweat soaking through the dress, heart hammering against my ribs. Betty's reflection was still in the mirror. "I spared you the worst parts," she said softly. "But you felt the fear. That's enough." I grabbed the zipper, tried to pull it down. It wouldn't move. I tried yanking the dress over my head. The fabric tightened like something alive, constricting around my ribs. "Not yet," Betty said. "You're not finished. You made the dress. Now you finish the story." The vision pulled me back. This time I was waking up in an empty lot. My body, Betty's body, already mutilated, still conscious somehow. Unable to scream, unable to die. Just trapped, watching police find me, watching photographers take pictures, feeling every moment of being a corpse. Then, the morgue. The coroner's examination. A funeral with a closed casket. Her mother crying. I experienced all of it as Betty. Every moment of being a dead body, being examined, being buried. 77 years of death compressed into what felt like hours. When I came back to my studio, I was sobbing, the dress soaked through with sweat. Betty's reflection watched me with something like sympathy. "You understand now?" she asked. The dress was with me that night. Absorbed everything. Fabric holds memory. You recreated it perfectly. You activated those memories. "Let me out," I managed. "Please. I've been trapped in that dress since 1947, Betty said. "Every perfect reproduction brings me closer to the surface. You're the 7th seamstress. Each one experiences it. Most go mad, some kill themselves. You're the strongest so far." She showed me then visions of 6 other women. 1,965. Suicide. 1,978. Institutionalized. 1,989. Disappeared. 1,996. Suicide. 2007. Car accident that was probably intentional. 2019. Overdose. All of them had made accurate reproductions of Betty's dress. "Who's Collector 78?" I asked, voice shaking. "The collector is my killer," Betty said. "He never died. He's 103 now. Wealthy, he commissions these reproductions to relive that night. Each seamstress who makes the dress experiences my death. He feeds on that pain." My phone rang at 1:03 a.m. I didn't want to answer it, but my hand moved on its own, picked it up. "Miss Foster." An elderly man's voice, refined, pleasant. "I see you've finished the dress and experienced its properties. Shall we discuss the commission for the next piece?" "What?" "I'll pay $50,000 for a reproduction of a 1969 dress. It belonged to Cherry Joe Bates, murdered in Riverside. Zodiac victim. You'd have 30 days. I'll provide materials. You make the dress, and the next seamstress wears it. The cycle continues." "I'll never make another one," I said. "I'll go to the police. I'll tell everyone," he laughed. "Tell them what? That a dress cursed you? They'll institutionalize you. Meanwhile, Betty's dress won't come off until you agree or die." "You're insane. You have 48 hours to decide. Every hour you refuse, you'll experience Betty's death again. After 48 hours, the dress will kill you. You'll die of sympathetic trauma. Your heart will stop from reliving her wounds." He paused. "Oh, and your father's treatment? I can pay for it entirely. $14,000. He starts Monday. Or you can refuse, and he dies too." He hung up. Over the next 11 hours, I experienced Betty's death 11 times. By 8 a.m. on October 19th, I couldn't think straight. I was dissociating, losing time, losing myself. I found the journal of the 2019 seamstress online. She'd kept a blog before she died. In her last posts, she'd written about finding a partial solution. The dress releases if you complete the opposite memory. Experience the opposite of the murder victim's death. Betty died violently, mutilated, alone. The opposite would be dying peacefully, whole, surrounded by love. I tried meditating, visualizing a peaceful death. It didn't work. The peaceful memory wasn't strong enough. I needed something real. I drove to the hospital still wearing the dress. I had no choice and sat with my dad for 3 hours. He was weak from the cancer, but when he saw me in the vintage dress, he smiled. "You look beautiful," he said, "like an old movie star." I held his hand. We talked about my childhood, about my mom who died 5 years ago, about how proud he was of me. Genuine love, real connection. I focused on the warmth of his hand, the safety of that moment, tried to absorb it as deeply as I'd absorbed Betty's trauma. The dress loosened slightly, but it didn't come off. "You're close," Betty's voice whispered, though she wasn't visible. "But love memory isn't equal to murder memory. Murder is louder. You need something more." I understood then. One strong love memory couldn't outweigh 77 years of death trauma. At 2 a.m., I called the collector back. "I'll make the next dress," I said. "I'll continue the cycle. But only if you pay for my father's treatment first, and only if you release Betty's spirit from this dress." Long pause. "No one's ever offered to take on the curse willingly. You're volunteering?" "My father is dying. You'll save him. I'll take Betty's place. Fair trade." The moment I spoke those words, the dress fell off. Betty's reflection faded from my mirror. I heard her whisper one last time, "Thank you." Self-sacrifice is the opposite of murder. Both are death, but one is love. "You've freed me, but you've damned yourself." On October 20th, the collector transferred $14,000 to the hospital. My dad started treatment on October 21st. The materials for the 1969 dress arrived on October 22nd. I started work that same day. It's October 27th, 2025 now, and I'm finishing the dress. It's 90% complete. Beautiful work, honestly, historically perfect, every stitch exact. I know what happens when I put it on for the final fitting tomorrow. I'll experience Cherry Joe Bates's murder. I'll be trapped in that dress for decades, maybe 50 years, until some future seamstress recreates it and experiences what I experienced. My dad's in remission. Doctors say he'll live another 5 to 10 years. I bought his life with mine. The dress is hanging on the form right now. I can feel it watching me, waiting. Tomorrow, I'll zip myself into it, and I'll start screaming in 1969. I'll scream for the next 50 years while my dad lives his remaining time in peace. That's the trade. That's what October taught me. Love and death wear the same dress sometimes. You just have to decide which one you're sewing for. I chose love. I'll pay in death. If someone offers you $12,000 to recreate a historical costume, and if that dress belonged to a murder victim, refuse. Let your father die. Let yourself stay poor. Because some fabric holds more than memory. It holds souls. And once you put it on, you become part of the weave. I put it on tomorrow. I'm not asking for luck. It won't matter. I'll be screaming in 1969 for the next 50 years. But my dad will be alive, and sometimes that's all the choice you get. I'm 29 years old, and I stock shelves at a Safeway in Sacramento. Overnight shift, midnight to 8 in the morning, $18 an hour. It's not much, but it's honest work. And after the last few years of my life, honest work is all I've got left. I dropped out of community college when I was 22, spent the next 5 years losing $40,000 to poker tables and sports betting apps, and I've been clean for 14 months now. This job is part of rebuilding. The studio apartment, the used Honda, the simple routine, it's all part of staying stable. I don't mind the overnight shift. Most people hate it, but I actually like the quiet. Between midnight and 6 in the morning, we maybe get 3 to 7 customers total. Insomniacs buying ice cream, nurses grabbing groceries after their shifts, truck drivers passing through. I put my headphones in, stock the aisles, and don't have to talk to anyone. It's peaceful. Or it was peaceful, until October 2024, when I learned that some customers aren't shopping for food. October 1st, around 12:30 inches the morning, my manager Brenda called me into her office. Brenda's in her 50s, been working at this store for 20 years, and she's always been straightforward with me. That night, though, she looked uncomfortable. She told me to sit down, and then she said something I didn't understand at the time. "October is different," she said. "You're going to see customers you don't recognize. You're going to see things that don't make sense. When that happens, you ignore it. You stock your shelves, you don't interact, and you don't ask questions." I asked her what she meant. She just shook her head. "You'll know when you see it. Just pretend you don't see it. Finish your shift. Go home. Do that, and you'll get a $200 bonus at the end of the month." I didn't know what to say to that. $200 was $200, and I wasn't in a position to turn down money. So I nodded, told her I understood, even though I didn't, and went back to work. The next night, October 2nd, I was stocking the cereal aisle around 1:47 inches the morning. I remember the exact time because I just checked my phone. That's when I saw her, a woman in her 40s, wearing a business suit like she'd just come from an office. She was pushing a shopping cart through the store, which wasn't unusual. What was unusual was what was in the cart. There was a little girl, maybe 8 years old, lying in the bottom of the cart. Not sitting in the child seat like normal. Lying down in the basket part, wrapped in a blanket, completely unconscious or sleeping. The woman pushed the cart past me, and when she saw me looking, she smiled. "She's sleeping," she said, casual as anything. "Long day." Then she just kept walking, pushed the cart up to the checkout, and left. My heart was pounding. I stood there in the cereal aisle, holding a box of Cheerios, trying to tell myself that what I'd just seen was normal. Maybe the kid was just really tired. Maybe the mom had a good reason. Maybe I was overreacting. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was very wrong. 3 nights later, October 5th, I saw it again. This time, it was a man in his 50s, wearing an expensive-looking coat. He had a shopping cart with a teenage boy in it, maybe 14 or 15 years old. The boy was conscious, but something was off about him. His eyes were unfocused, and he stumbled when he walked, like he was drugged. The man guided him through the aisles, picking up items casually, acting like everything was normal. I watched them go to the checkout. Kevin, the night cashier, has worked overnight for 15 years. He's 55, quiet, keeps to himself. He scanned the man's groceries like it was any other transaction. He didn't even look at the boy. The man paid in cash, took his groceries and the boy, and left. I was standing near the checkout, and Kevin saw me watching. He just shook his head slightly, like he was telling me, "Don't ask." Over the next 2 weeks, I saw 8 more incidents just like that. Adults with children or teenagers, always between 1 and 4 in the morning. Some of the kids were unconscious in shopping carts. Some were walking but clearly drugged, stumbling and unfocused. The adults always paid cash. And the night staff, Kevin, Brenda, the other overnight stalkers, they all ignored it completely. Like it wasn't even happening. I started to realize something. The store wasn't just allowing this. The store was facilitating it. On October 18th, around 4 in the morning during a slow stretch, I finally approached Kevin. I asked him directly about the customers I'd been seeing. He sighed, long and tired, and said, "You lasted longer than most new people. Usually they ask the first week." Then he told me the truth. "It's been happening every October for 15 years, he said. "This store is a waypoint on a trafficking route. Interstate 5 runs from Sacramento down to San Francisco and LA. Our store is exactly halfway. Traffickers stop here to shop. It gives them a legitimate reason to be here if anyone checks security cameras. They're just buying groceries, right? And they happen to have tired kids with them." I felt sick. The store knows. Corporate knows. District manager knows. Store manager knows. We all get paid to ignore it. $200 a month just for October. They don't steal, they don't cause trouble. They buy groceries and leave. That's the deal. "What about the police?" Kevin laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. "Some cops shop here at the same time. In uniform, they walk right past it. Everyone's paid, everyone's quiet. It's been working this way since 2009. I wanted to throw up. I asked Kevin why he stayed, and he looked at me like I was stupid. "I'm 55 years old, no college degree. This job pays me $22 an hour after 15 years. I've got grandkids to feed. I don't like it, but I've got bills. You'll make the same choice." "No," I said. "I won't. I'm going to report this. I'm going to the news, to the FBI." Kevin just smiled sadly. "Others have tried. They got fired for making false accusations, blacklisted from retail work. The store has lawyers. You'll lose, and the trafficking continues anyway." I didn't believe him. I stayed after my shift the next day, October 19th, and asked Brenda if I could see security footage from the overnight shifts. She refused immediately. "Footage from 1 to 5 in the morning is automatically deleted for storage space," she said. "Company policy." I went home and researched it. Other Safeways in California keep all their footage for 30 days. Only the stores along Interstate 5 inches Sacramento delete overnight footage. It was a deliberate policy, designed to hide evidence. This went all the way to the corporate level. October 22nd, 2:15 inches the morning. A woman came in with a teenage girl, maybe 16 or 17. The girl looked directly at me as they passed. She mouthed 2 words, "Help me." Clear and unmistakable. I stood frozen in the aisle. The woman pushed the girl past me, out the door, into a van in the parking lot. They drove away. The whole thing took 3 minutes. And I did nothing. Afterward, I went to the bathroom and threw up. Then I sat in the storage room and cried. I had a choice. I could quit and walk away, or I could try to stop it, knowing I'd probably fail and definitely lose my job. I thought about my recovery, my fragile stability, the life I was trying to rebuild. And then I thought about that girl's face. I couldn't reconcile the two. So on October 23rd, I bought a hidden camera. Just a tiny device that fit in my vest pocket. I decided I'd document everything, get evidence that couldn't be ignored, and send it to the FBI anonymously. Over the next 3 nights, I recorded everything. October 24th, I got footage of a man with a drugged teenage boy, clear shots of their faces, the license plate in the parking lot, the transaction at checkout, Kevin deliberately ignoring them. 8 minutes of perfect evidence. October 25th, I recorded a woman with 2 children, both under 10, both unconscious in the cart. I got her paying cash, loading them into an SUV. 12 minutes of footage. October 26th, I recorded a couple with a teenage girl who was crying silently. They bought sandwiches and drinks, then sat in the store's cafe area and fed her. It was surreal. They treated trafficking like a normal family shopping trip. 15 minutes of footage. I thought I had them. I thought I finally had evidence that couldn't be denied. On October 27th, I arrived for my shift and Brenda called me into her office immediately. "Security flagged you," she said. "You've been recording." That's a termination offense. Hand over the device. I told her I was documenting crimes, that I was sending the footage to the FBI. Brenda's expression didn't change. James, she said calmly, you're a gambling addict, 14 months clean. You relapsed recently. You stole $800 from the register. We have footage. She turned her computer screen toward me. There I was, at the register during a slow period, pocketing cash, looking guilty. It was professional quality video, indistinguishable from real footage, except I'd never done that. You give me the recording, Brenda said, and we forget about the theft. You quit quietly, we give you a decent reference. Or you refuse, we prosecute, and you go to jail. You lose your sobriety, you lose your housing, you lose everything you've rebuilt. Your choice. I realized then that they'd prepared for this. They had a system for dealing with whistleblowers. They could fabricate evidence, destroy lives legally, and nothing would change. Kevin appeared in the doorway. James, he said quietly, give her the camera. Walk away. I told you others tried. This is how they handle it. You can't beat them. Save yourself. I thought about jail, about losing my sobriety in that environment, about the gambling debts that would come back, about losing my apartment, being homeless again. I handed over the camera. Brenda deleted the footage right in front of me. Good choice, she said. You're terminated effective immediately. I'll mail your final check. Leave now. I left. My heart was pounding. My hands were shaking. But in the parking lot, I pulled out my phone. Because I'd been live streaming the camera footage to cloud storage all week. Brenda had deleted the local files, but the backups were safe. I compiled everything that same day, all the footage, a detailed statement, store address, employee names, license plates, everything. I submitted it to the FBI tip line. I felt relief for the first time in weeks. Then I waited. November passed. No response. No news coverage. No investigation. I called the FBI tip line repeatedly. Investigation ongoing, they said. Can't comment. December 8th, I saw a news article. FBI raids Sacramento County human trafficking ring, 12 arrested. My heart soared. Finally, justice. I read the article carefully. It described a trafficking operation running out of massage parlors and residential homes. No mention of Safeway. No mention of grocery stores. Completely different operation. I called the FBI agent listed in the article. I explained that I'd submitted evidence about the Safeway operation. The agent said, "We received your tip. We investigated. Found no evidence of trafficking at that location. Security footage showed normal shopping. Thank you for your vigilance." I insisted I had footage. The agent said, "We reviewed your footage. Appears to show tired children shopping late with parents. No evidence of trafficking. Perhaps you misinterpreted innocent situations." By December 15th, I'd applied to 3 other grocery stores. All rejected me. I checked my references. Safeway had flagged me as terminated for theft. I was blacklisted from retail. I couldn't get hired anywhere. By January 2025, I couldn't make rent. I got evicted. I moved into my car. I started gambling again, trying to make money. I lost everything. By February, I'd relapsed completely. By March, I was homeless. In April, Kevin found me at a homeless shelter. He brought coffee. "I heard what happened," he said. "I'm sorry. I tried to warn you. The system is bigger than you thought. The FBI is paid too. Everyone up the chain is paid." He explained that it wasn't just our Safeway. It was 47 stores across California, along the Interstate 5 and Highway 101 corridors. Corporate policy. Distribution centers used as waypoints. Corporate security running interference. The FBI's Sacramento office gets $2 million annually to look the other way. "Your footage was good," Kevin said. But the FBI's technical expert determined the children were clearly just tired. Official determination. Case closed. You're marked now. They'll make sure you can't recover. You're a warning to others. He told me I was the 8th person to try exposing it since 2009. 3 are dead officially suicides. 2 are in prison on fabricated charges. 2 disappeared. "I feel guilty," Kevin said. "I enabled it. I could have warned you better. I stayed for the money. We all stayed for the money. And kids got trafficked past us every October. I'm retiring next month. I can't do it anymore. I'm 61 years old and I'm ashamed of what I've done. I'm 30 now. I've lost everything. I tried to do the right thing and got destroyed for it. I don't know if I'd make the same choice again, knowing the outcome. Maybe Kevin was right. Maybe some systems are too big to fight. Maybe survival matters more than heroism. It's October 2025 now. I'm homeless in Sacramento. Sometimes I watch that Safeway from across the street. I see the overnight stalkers working. I wonder if they notice. I wonder if they'll try to stop it. I wonder if they'll get destroyed like me. The store is still open 24 hours. Still accepting cash. Still deleting footage from 1 to 5 in the morning. I'm still alive, somehow. Maybe that's the system's mercy, or maybe it's cruelty, letting me live as a broken example of what happens when you try to fight back. I stopped one trafficking operation and got everything taken away. Imagine what they do to people who threaten bigger operations. I'm writing this at a library computer. I'll post it online. It'll probably get deleted, probably get flagged, but maybe someone will see it before it's scrubbed. Maybe someone will believe me. Or maybe you'll shop at Safeway at 2 in the morning someday and see something wrong, and you'll tell yourself it's fine. Kid's probably just tired, and you'll buy your groceries and go home. That's how it continues. That's how we all become complicit. Not through evil, but through cowardice, through self-preservation, through reasonable choices that add up to unreasonable horror. I tried to stop it. I failed, but I tried. That's all I have left, the fact that I tried, even though it destroyed me, even though I'd be better off if I'd just ignored it. Maybe that matters, or maybe it doesn't. I just know I can't walk past that Safeway anymore without seeing those faces. Those children, wondering where they are now, knowing I failed them. The system is too big, too powerful, too entrenched, and I'm just a grocery stalker who lost everything trying to be good. I'm 37 years old, and I photograph empty houses for a living. Real estate listings, mostly walk through with my camera, make rooms look bigger than they are, edit out the water stains. I charge $250 per property, which isn't much, but it adds up. In October 2024, I photographed an estate in Napa Valley that paid me $1,200 for a single day's work. I took the job. I shouldn't have. The things I found in that house offered me everything I needed, and I said yes, and now I can't stop going back. My name's Angela Reyes. I live in Napa with my daughter Sophia, who's 6. Her father and I divorced 3 years ago. He's in Sacramento now, sends child support when he remembers to. Sophia has type 1 diabetes. She was diagnosed when she was 4, and it's been this constant wait ever since. The insulin alone costs $450 a month, even with insurance. I make about $3,800 freelancing if I'm lucky. After rent, car payment, groceries, utilities, there's maybe $200 left over, maybe. I'm always doing the math in my head, always one car repair away from disaster. October 15th, I got a call from Melissa Chen, a real estate agent I'd worked with before. She had a rush job, an 8-bedroom estate that needed to be photographed same day for an overseas buyer. The property had to list by October 20th. She offered me $1,200, triple my normal rate. I said yes before she finished explaining. The estate was about 20 minutes outside Napa, set back on 50 acres of vineyard. It was this massive 1,890 seconds Victorian mansion, white paint peeling, wraparound porch sagging in places, beautiful but decaying. The owner had died 3 years earlier, and the house had been sitting empty ever since, waiting for the estate sale to finalize. When I pulled up around 1 p.m., Melissa was already there, sitting in her Mercedes with the engine running. She rolled down her window when I parked. "Shoot quickly," she said. "Don't go in the basement, don't uncover any of the furniture, and don't stay past 5 p.m. I'll wait here, text me when you're done." I thought it was odd, but agents get weird about old properties sometimes. I grabbed my equipment and headed inside. The entry hall was stunning, original hardwood floors under a layer of dust. A grand staircase with carved banisters, afternoon light pouring through stained glass windows. All the furniture was covered in white sheets. I started shooting, working my way through the first floor methodically. Living room, dining room, kitchen, library, everything was gorgeous, despite the neglect. The October light was perfect, golden and soft. I was in professional mode, focused on angles and composition. By 2:30 p.m., I was upstairs photographing the bedrooms. The third one had a covered mirror on the wall. I could see the shape of an ornate frame under the sheet. I lifted the corner to get a better shot. The reflection showed a fully furnished room, wallpaper intact, carpet clean, chandelier lit. Victorian-era furniture arranged perfectly, like I was looking at the room in 1890. I looked away from the mirror. The actual room was empty, dusty, furniture covered. I looked back at the mirror, still showed the furnished room, warm and lived in. I dropped the sheet, my hands were shaking. I told myself it was old glass, some kind of distortion, maybe stress playing tricks on me. I needed this $1,200. Sophia's insulin prescription was due for refill next week. I kept shooting. The master bedroom was at the end of the hall, the largest room in the house. There was a 4-poster bed under a sheet, a massive wardrobe against one wall. When I was photographing the wardrobe, adjusting my angle, I heard a whisper from inside it. "Are you alone? Is there a child with you?" I froze. The voice was female, soft, like someone speaking through fabric. "Please answer," the voice said. "We mean no harm. We've been waiting for someone to hear us. Are you alone?" I don't know why I answered. Maybe because the voice sounded so polite, so sad. "Yes," I whispered. "I'm alone." The wardrobe door opened slowly. No one inside, just Victorian dresses hanging there, moth-eaten and ancient. But the voice came from them, or through them. "Good," it said. "We need to speak privately. We have a proposition. Please listen before you run." 3 voices spoke then, overlapping, all female. "We're Margaret, Judith, Catherine. We lived here in the 1890s. We died here in 1897. We've been trapped here for 127 years. We need help. I should have left. I should have grabbed my equipment and walked straight out to Melissa's car. But I didn't. I stood there listening as Margaret's voice, the clearest of the 3, told me their story. They were sisters, ages 19, 22, and 25. Their father poisoned them for the inheritance, claimed it was illness, buried them somewhere in the vineyard. No one investigated. They'd been haunting the house ever since, unable to leave the property. "We can't leave," Margaret said. "But we can trade. Someone living can take our place here. We take their life outside. It's symbiotic. We get to live again. They get to rest. Everyone benefits." "I'm not trading places with dead people," I said, backing toward the door. "Wait, please," Judith's voice cut in. "We can offer you something. We know what you need. We can sense desperation. You need money for your daughter's medicine." My blood went cold. "How do you know about Sophia?" Catherine's voice said. 6 years old, type 1 diabetes, needs insulin. You can barely afford it. We can help. We have resources hidden in this house. Gold coins, Victorian jewelry, worth $200,000. We'll give you half." I couldn't breathe. $200,000. That would cover Sophia's insulin for 30 years. College? Everything. "Work with us," Margaret said. "Help us find 3 living women willing to trade. We need 3 bodies to share, switching between them. You get $100,000 in gold. Enough for Sophia's insulin for decades. We get our freedom." "Find 3 people to die for you?" I said. "That's insane." "We don't need innocents," Judith said quickly. "Find 3 women who want to die anyway. Suicidal people, terminal patients, women who trade their suffering for eternal rest. Give them the choice. They say yes willingly. Everyone benefits." I stood there, mind racing. This was impossible, talking to ghosts. But $100,000 would change Sophia's life completely. No more panic about affording insulin. No more 3 a.m. math about which bill to pay first. "Think about it," Judith continued. "You'd be helping suicidal people find peace, helping terminal patients avoid painful deaths, helping us escape 127 years of imprisonment, and securing your daughter's future. It's actually moral when you think about it." The wardrobe's bottom panel slid open. Inside was a hidden compartment filled with gold coins, all dated from the 1890s. Jewelry rings, necklaces, brooches. Easily $200,000 worth. Tangible proof this wasn't a hallucination. "We know 3 women already," Margaret said. We've been watching through the windows for years. We'll tell you who they are. You just make the introduction. Explain the option. They choose. No force, pure consent. You get the gold immediately. Catherine listed them. A woman in Napa hospice care. Terminal pancreatic cancer. 3 weeks to live. Suffering. A woman in Street Helena who attempted suicide twice this year. Currently on psychiatric hold. A woman in Calistoga whose husband abused her for 15 years. Restraining order. Terrified he'll find her. All 3 want escape. I thought about the last time Sophia's blood sugar dropped. The rush to the ER. The $4,000 bill I was still paying off. The constant terror of watching her numbers, knowing one mistake could kill her. This money would eliminate that forever. I need to think about it, I said. October 19th, Margaret said. Bring them here at sunset. We'll handle the rest. I left with a handful of gold coins as proof. Drove home in a daze. That night, I looked up the 3 women the sisters had mentioned. They all existed. Rachel Morrison, 54, in Napa Hospice. Jennifer Chen, 31, at Street Helena Psychiatric Facility. Maria Gonzalez, 28, at a women's shelter in Calistoga. October 16th, I visited Rachel first. I told the hospice I was a photographer doing end-of-life portraits for a charity. Rachel was skeletal, yellow-skinned, clearly in pain despite the morphine. She was coherent, though, aware. I just want it to end, she told me. The morphine helps, but I'm suffering. I'm ready to go. I've been ready. I sat with her for an hour. Then, carefully, I explained. What if you could end the suffering now? No more pain, instant death, trade places with someone who wants to live. She stared at me for a long moment. Are you serious? Is this real? Because yes, absolutely yes. Jennifer was harder to reach. But I got in through a volunteer program at the psychiatric facility. She had scars on both wrists, empty eyes, the look of someone already half gone. I've tried twice, she said flatly. I'll try again. They can't watch me forever. I don't want to exist. I explained the same offer. She listened carefully. So I'd die. But someone else gets my body and my life? They'd have to deal with my depression, my debt, my shitty family. She laughed hollow. Good luck to them. Where do I sign? Maria was the worst. I found her at the shelter with a bruised face, a haunted expression. My husband will kill me eventually, she said. The restraining order is just paper. He doesn't care. I'm a dead woman walking, just waiting for it. When I explained the offer, she cried. You're telling me I can escape? Truly escape? Not just a new city, but a new existence? And some ghost gets my problems instead? She wiped her eyes. They're welcome to them. My husband can haunt them. October 18th, I had 3 willing participants. All consenting adults, all wanting death, all understanding they'd die and others would live their lives. It seemed ethical. It seemed like I was helping. I told myself this was good. October 19th, 5 p.m., I picked them up. Drove them to the estate. Melissa's car wasn't there. I'd told her I needed to do a second shoot, that I'd found issues with the lighting. The sisters' voices guided us to the basement, the place Melissa had specifically told me not to go. There was a ritual circle carved into the stone floor, candles and iron holders arranged in a triangle. The sisters explained through the walls, their voices echoing. Stand in the circle, each of you. We'll join you. At sunset, the transfer happens. You'll die peacefully, instantly. We'll take your bodies and walk out of this house free. Angela gets her gold. Everyone wins. The 3 women stood in the circle. They were calm, ready. I stood by the stairs with a bag full of gold coins, watching. Sunset was at 6:47 p.m. When the sun touched the horizon, the light in the basement changed, became golden and thick, like honey in the air. The 3 women gasped simultaneously. Their eyes rolled back, their bodies seized. I watched them collapse. They were clearly dying. But something was wrong with how they fell. They didn't fall naturally. They crumpled like puppets with cut strings, landing in impossible positions. I heard bones crack, loud, wet sounds. The sisters weren't taking the bodies gently. They were breaking them. 3 figures rose from the collapsed bodies. Not women, not human. They were insect-like, segmented, with vaguely female faces stretched over chitinous skulls. They chittered and clicked, mandibles working, compound eyes reflecting candlelight. "Thank you, Angela," they said in unison, voices layered and wrong. "You brought us food." 3 suffering humans, full of fear and pain. Delicious. "We feed every October. We need someone to bring us victims. You've done well, here's your gold." I understood then. Rachel, Jennifer, Maria, they weren't rescued, they were consumed. These creatures fed on suffering, on slow, painful death. I delivered 3 humans to predators. This wasn't mercy killing. This was feeding time. I ran for the stairs. The door slammed shut. The creatures blocked my path, unfolding to their full height, 7 feet at least. "You can leave," they said. "We keep our bargains. Take your gold. Leave. But know what you did. Know what you are. Know you'll do it again." One of them leaned close, its face inches from mine. "We've marked you. Every October, you'll feel the compulsion to bring us 3 more. You'll find desperate people, convince them, deliver them. We'll pay you $100,000 each time. You'll do it because Sophia needs insulin forever. You'll do it because you're a good mother." The door opened. I grabbed the bag of gold and ran. Drove away from that estate, their clicking laughter following me all the way to my car. I got home around 9 p.m. Sophia was with the babysitter, safe, innocent. I hid the gold in my closet and threw up for an hour. October 20th, I called the police. Reported 3 missing women last seen at the estate. They searched the property, found nothing. No bodies, no blood, no evidence anyone had been there. I looked insane. The police checked on the 3 women. Rachel was still in hospice, alive. Jennifer was still at the psychiatric facility, alive. Maria was still at the shelter, alive. No one had gone missing. My story made no sense. I drove to the hospice myself. Rachel was there, in her bed, looking identical. "Can I help you?" she asked. "Do I know you?" No memory of meeting me. No memory of the estate. Like it never happened. But the gold was real. $200,000 in authenticated Victorian coins. I sold half of it, paid off all my debts, set up a trust fund for Sophia's insulin. The money was tangible proof. Something had happened, even if the women were mysteriously back. October 15th, 2025. Last week, I felt it. An overwhelming compulsion to return to the estate. To find 3 more desperate people. To make the offer. The creatures were calling. I tried to resist. I lasted 4 days. I'm driving to the estate now. October 19th, 2025. I found 3 more people. A homeless man with terminal liver disease. An elderly woman with advanced dementia and no family. A teenage runaway who's overdosed twice. All consenting. All wanting release. I've become the recruiter, the creature's partner. I deliver humans, they feed, I get paid, Sophia gets insulin. That's the cycle. I'm a monster now. I know it. I do it anyway. Because my daughter's life matters more than strangers' deaths. That's what I learned in October 2024. Maternal love doesn't make you good. It makes you capable of anything. I love Sophia so much I'll feed humans to basement monsters every October for the rest of my life. I'll find the desperate, the suffering, the suicidal. I'll offer them peace. I'll deliver them to horror. And I'll take my gold and buy insulin. I tell myself I'm helping them. They wanted death anyway. I'm just facilitating. But I know the truth. I'm a predator too now, just using different bait. The creatures were right. They marked me. I'll do this every October until I die, because Sophia needs me to. Because I'm her mother. Because love makes monsters as often as it makes heroes. Maybe more often. That's the disturbing truth no one says about parenthood. Given the right stakes, the right pressure, the right price, you'll sacrifice strangers to save your child. You'll tell yourself it's necessary, it's moral, they consented, you're helping. But late at night, you'll remember their faces when the creatures appeared. When they realized they'd been tricked. When they understood mercy was really predation. And you'll cry, and then you'll cash your gold, and buy your insulin, and take your daughter to school, and be a good mother. That's how evil survives. Not through monsters in basements, but through mothers in Napa Valley. Not through sudden choice, but through October desperation. Not through heartlessness, but through too much heart in the wrong place. I love Sophia. I'll damn anyone to save her. That makes me a monster. And I'm okay with that. And that should disturb you more than anything. I'm 31 years old, and I film weddings for a living in Orange County, California. Not the glamorous kind of filmmaking I dreamed about in film school, just ceremony footage, reception highlights, first dances. I've shot 94 weddings in the past 4 years at $2,500 each. On October 31st, 2024, I filmed number 95, and that's the one where I learned the groom wasn't human. Everyone at that wedding knew except the bride. And they made me keep filming anyway. My name's Chris Martinez. I graduated from USC Film School back in 2019 with a degree in cinematography and $180,000 in student debt hanging over my head. The loan payments are $1,400 every single month for the next 20 years. I make about $45,000 a year shooting weddings, which means I'm basically treading water financially. All those dreams I had about making real films, telling important stories, those died pretty quick when the first payment notice showed up. You don't think about that part when you're 18 and signing loan papers. You just think about film school, about becoming the next great director. Reality hits different. October 1st, I got an email inquiry from someone named Robert Chen. He wanted a videographer for an October 31st wedding at a private estate in Orange County. The ceremony started at 6 p.m., and he was offering $8,500 for what he called complete discretion and immediate delivery of all raw footage. That's more than triple my normal rate. I stared at that number for a long time. My loan servicer had sent me a letter 2 weeks earlier threatening wage garnishment if I missed another payment. $8,500 would cover almost 6 months of my student loans. There were red flags, obviously. The price was weird. Complete discretion sounded strange. Who has a wedding on Halloween? But I needed that money so badly I could taste it. I told myself it was probably just some wealthy family with specific privacy concerns. Rich people do weird stuff all the time. I've filmed enough Orange County weddings to know that. On October 3rd, I met Robert at a coffee shop in Irvine to sign the contract. He was maybe mid-40 seconds, wearing an expensive suit, and when he shook my hand, his skin felt cold even though it was 80 degrees outside. The contract was 12 pages long. Most of it looked standard liability clauses, delivery schedules, payment terms. But there were a couple sections that made me uncomfortable. One clause said I would film all requested content without questioning the nature of said content. Another said I couldn't discuss any event details with anyone, and if I breached that confidentiality, I'd owe $100,000 in penalties. I asked Robert what film all requested content meant. He smiled, and something about that smile made my stomach tighten. Wedding families have specific traditions. He said, "You film what they ask you to film. You don't editorialize. Simple professional work. Nothing illegal, if that's what you're worried about." I signed it. Robert wired $4,250 to my account that afternoon, half up front, half on delivery. The money cleared the next day. I immediately paid 3 months of student loan payments and felt this enormous weight lift off my chest. I told myself that whatever these traditions were, I could handle it for that kind of money. I've filmed drunk uncles giving inappropriate toasts, bridezillas screaming at vendors, grooms crying at the altar. How weird could one wedding really be? I spent the rest of October prepping my equipment. I even rented a second camera so I could get multi-angle coverage. For $8,500, I wanted to deliver exceptional work. Maybe this could lead to more high-paying clients, I thought. Maybe this was my break. October 31st arrived. I loaded my gear into my Honda and drove out to the address Robert had given me, a gated estate in Coto de Caza, which is one of those wealthy Orange County communities where houses start at $3 million. There were actual guards at the gate who checked my name against a list before letting me through. The property was massive. As I drove up the long driveway, I could see maybe 100 guests already arriving, all in formal attire. No Halloween costumes despite the date. It looked like a normal, expensive wedding. I found parking and hauled my equipment toward the mansion. The bride was in a side room getting ready, and I knocked to introduce myself and get some pre-ceremony footage. Her name was Sarah. She was 26, absolutely stunning in her white dress. and she seemed genuinely happy. Nervous the way all brides are nervous, but excited. Normal bride energy. The groom, Thomas, supposedly 35 and handsome in his tuxedo, was calm and attentive when I filmed him greeting guests. They looked like a regular couple. I relaxed a little. Maybe this would just be a normal wedding with rich people quirks. The ceremony started right at 6 p.m. It was outdoors with perfect sunset lighting, the kind of golden hour that makes every shot look cinematic. 100 guests sat in white chairs arranged in neat rows. A string quartet played classical music. Sarah walked down the aisle with her father, crying happy tears. I filmed standard coverage, the processional, reaction shots of guests, close-ups of the couple. Everything seemed completely normal, beautiful even. Thomas spoke his vows first. Standard language about love and commitment and promising to be there through everything. But his voice had this weird resonance to it, like there were two voices layered on top of each other. I checked my audio equipment during a quiet moment, worried something was wrong with my recording. The levels looked fine. Must be some acoustic oddity with the outdoor space, I figured. Then came the ring exchange. I zoomed in to get a close-up of Thomas sliding the ring onto Sarah's finger. In my camera's LCD screen, I caught something strange in the reflection on the ring's surface. Thomas's reflection didn't match his body. The reflection showed something tall and dark and wrong. I blinked and looked again. The reflection was normal. I told myself I was tired, that I'd been staring at camera screens all day. They kissed. Everyone applauded. I panned across the guests to film reaction shots, and that's when I noticed several people weren't clapping. They were just watching Sarah with these intense expressions, not happy, hungry, almost. It was weird, but not alarming. Some people don't like public displays of affection, I figured. The reception moved indoors to this grand ballroom with elaborate decorations, a full bar, a DJ, and catered dinner service. I filmed guests mingling and making toasts. I noticed small groups having these quiet, intense conversations where they kept glancing at Sarah. She didn't seem to notice. She was glowing, laughing, dancing with her bridesmaids. The first dance happened at 7:30. Sarah and Thomas swayed to some romantic song under decorative lights, and they looked beautiful together. But I was watching them through my camera's LCD screen, and I saw Thomas's shadow on the wall behind them. The shadow moved differently than his body. It was larger, too, misshapen. I looked up from the camera to see it with my own eyes, and the shadow looked normal. I looked back at the screen. Wrong again. I felt cold. At exactly 8 p.m., Robert appeared next to me. He leaned in close and said quietly, "At 9 p.m., the ceremony moves to a private room. You'll film everything. No matter what you see, you keep those cameras rolling. Stay professional. Remember your contract." My mouth went dry. "What kind of ceremony?" Robert smiled that same unsettling smile. "Traditional family ritual. A bit unusual, but perfectly legal. You'll understand when you see it. Just film, don't react. You're getting paid to document, not to judge." The next hour felt like the longest of my life. I filmed more reception footage, cake cutting, bouquet toss, guests drinking and dancing. But I couldn't stop thinking about that $100,000 penalty clause. About Robert's voice when he said, "No matter what you see." About Thomas's wrong reflection and wrong shadow. At exactly 9 p.m., Robert stood up and announced, "The family ceremony will now commence." 20 select guests, including Sarah and Thomas, moved toward a separate wing of the mansion. I followed with my camera. The other guests stayed in the main reception area, drinking and talking like nothing unusual was happening. Robert led us to a large study with wood-paneled walls, floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, and a fireplace. The 20 guests formed a circle. Thomas and Sarah stood in the center. Robert handed me my second camera. "2 angles," he said. "Capture everything. This is the important part." Thomas turned to Sarah and took her hands. "Sarah, you've joined our family through marriage. Tonight you complete the joining. You'll understand what we are, what you'll become. This is our traditional requirement." Sarah laughed nervously. "What do you mean?" And then Thomas's skin began to ripple. I watched through my camera as his face distorted, as his body shifted and changed. Sarah started screaming. The other 20 guests around them began changing too. Their skin darkened to gray. Their eyes reflected red in the fireplace light. Their bodies elongated, grew taller, limbs bending at wrong angles. Within seconds, the room was filled with creatures that looked almost human but fundamentally weren't. Every instinct I had screamed at me to run. But I thought about that contract, about the $100,000 penalty, about my wages being garnished for the rest of my life, about never escaping my student debt. So, I kept both cameras rolling. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold them steady, but I captured everything. Professional documentation of absolute horror. Sarah tried to run for the door. Two creatures blocked her path. Thomas, now 7 feet tall with gray skin, and elongated features, said in that double-layered voice, "Don't be afraid, you're one of us now. Marriage completes the transformation. You'll change too. Become family. It's already done." Other creatures surrounded Sarah. They touched her arms, her shoulders. She collapsed, screaming. Her body began to change. Her skin darkened. I heard bones cracking and reshaping. She writhed on the floor, and I filmed every second of it, every moment of her transformation, every scream. I kept telling myself, just document it, stay professional, think about the money, think about your loans, just keep filming. Robert approached me in his creature form. "Keep filming," he said. "This is our traditional wedding transformation. Our species' lives hidden among humans. We marry human women to reproduce. They become us. We've been doing this for centuries." After about 10 minutes, Sarah stood up. She was transformed, gray skin, red eyes, elongated body, just like the others. But she was conscious, aware, horrified. She looked at her hands and screamed, "What did you do to me? Thomas, what are you?" Thomas held her. "I love you. This doesn't change that. You're my wife. You're my species now. You'll understand in time. We're not evil, we're just different. We live normal lives, work normal jobs. We just look different." Other creatures introduced themselves, trying to comfort her. "I'm Linda. I was transformed 15 years ago. I'm a teacher now. I have 2 hybrid children. I'm happy." Others shared similar stories, trying to normalize what had just happened to Sarah. Then Robert explained her options. "You can accept the transformation, stay with us, live as our kind, or we can reverse it within 24 hours. You go home, marriage annulled, you forget everything. Your choice," Thomas added. "If you leave, you keep a $50,000 wedding gift. If you stay, you get $500,000 and family support forever. You'll never struggle financially. Our kind takes care of each other." Robert looked at me. "Your footage documents her consent or her refusal. If she refuses, the footage gets destroyed. If she accepts, it becomes a family record. Either way, you get paid and you leave. And no one will believe you if you talk." Sarah took 30 minutes to decide. She sat alone in creature form, thinking. I filmed her face. I saw the calculation happening. Saw her weighing money against humanity. I learned later she had $80,000 in student debt from nursing school. Finally, she stood up. "I'll stay. I'll try this. I need the money. I can't go back to my debt and my old life. Maybe being different is better than being trapped." She looked at Thomas. "Do you really love me?" "Yes," he said, "completely." The creatures celebrated. Sarah was welcomed into the family. The ceremony continued with toasts and gifts. I filmed 3 more hours. I captured Sarah slowly accepting her new form, captured something like normalcy returning. At 1 a.m. on November 1st, I packed my equipment. Robert approached with an envelope. "Outstanding work. Very professional. Here's your remaining $4,250 plus a $10,000 bonus for discretion." I'd made $14,500 total. Almost 6 months of loan payments. Then Robert said, "We have weddings every October, usually 3 to 5. If you're interested in regular work, we pay well for reliable videographers. Average $10,000 per wedding. We do this across California. You could make $50,000 annually just from our events. Solve your debt problem in a few years." He handed me another contract. "Sign this. You become our preferred vendor. We book you for all October weddings in 2025. Guaranteed $50,000 minimum. You just film, ask no questions, deliver footage, get paid." I sat in my car outside the estate, holding that contract and the cash. I thought about 16 more years of $1,400 monthly payments. I thought about Sarah choosing money over humanity, about her deciding transformation was better than debt. I told myself she'd consented, she chose it. Adults making informed decisions. I was just documenting, not forcing anything. My filming wasn't causing harm, just recording what would happen anyway. I signed the contract. That was a year ago. Since then, I've filmed 4 more transformation weddings. October 2025, I documented 4 women making the same choice Sarah made. 3 stayed for the money. 1 refused and took the memory erasure procedure. They injected something that made her forget everything. She woke up thinking the wedding had been canceled, with $50,000 in her bank account she couldn't explain. I filmed that too. I've noticed a pattern. They target women with financial desperation. Student debt, medical debt, trapped by money they can't escape. They offer $500,000 for transformation, and desperate people take desperate deals. I've made $62,000 from creature weddings this past year. I've paid off 18 months of student loans early. I have $12,000 in savings for the first time in my adult life. The debt that's controlled my existence for 6 years is finally manageable. The price was my humanity. I'm booked for 7 weddings in October 2026. They're expanding operations. They asked if I know other videographers with debt problems who need work. I gave them 3 names, film school classmates drowning in loans like I was. I'm recruiting now, moving up in their organization. And I hate myself, but I'm doing it anyway. Because student debt is $1.8 trillion in America. 45 million people are trapped by it, and these creatures know that. They're not invading. They're investing. They're buying desperate humans with money we can't refuse. Sarah emails me sometimes. She says she's happy now. She has a hybrid baby. The transformation was the best choice she ever made, she says. Her debt is gone. She's wealthy. She's a different species, but she's free. And I think about that, about what freedom costs, about what we'll trade for it. I'm 32 now. I'll have my loans paid off by 35 if I keep filming these weddings. 3 more years of documenting women transforming into creatures. 3 more years of being professionally neutral about horror. And then what? Then I'm free? Then I'm clean? I don't think so. I think I'm transformed too. Not physically, but essentially. I'm not human anymore either, not in the way that matters. I'm a creature too, just wearing human skin, just performing humanity. But inside I'm hollow. I'm a business person servicing clients, and my clients are a predatory species converting desperate women. And I'm okay with it because it pays my loans. That's what October taught me. We're all for sale. Every single one of us. Humans and creatures alike. We just have different price points. Sarah's was $500,000. Mine was $14,500. What's yours? You won't know until someone offers. Until you're desperate enough. Until October comes and something offers you escape from your trap. And you'll think about it. You'll weigh it. You'll rationalize. Maybe you'll say no. Maybe you're stronger than me, than Sarah, than those other brides. Or maybe you'll say yes. Maybe you'll sign the contract. Maybe you'll take the money, and maybe that's okay. Maybe transformation is better than debt. Maybe becoming a monster is better than staying trapped. I don't know anymore. I just know I'm filming 7 weddings next October, and 7 more the year after. And eventually I won't even feel guilty. Eventually this will just be my job. And that's the most disturbing part. Not the creatures, not the transformations, not even the brides choosing money over humanity. But me. Becoming comfortable with it, normalizing it, profiting from it, and sleeping fine at night. Because my student loans are getting paid. And in America, that's all that really matters. That's the monster that created all the others. The debt monster. The trap monster. The desperation monster. And we're all living inside it, humans and creatures together. And I'm the one with the camera, documenting how we adapt, how we survive, how we transform. 1 October wedding at a time. I'm 42 years old, and I used to deliver food for DoorDash in San Francisco. That probably sounds like the start of a boring story, but I need to tell you what happened on October 29th, 2024, because it's been eating at me for months now, and maybe if I say it out loud, it'll feel less heavy. I lost my database administrator job in March of that year, one of those mass tech layoffs you heard about on the news. By October, I'd burned through my savings, keeping my mother in her memory care facility. She has Alzheimer's, she's 71. The place costs $6,200 a month, and even with insurance, I was always scrambling to cover what they wouldn't pay. That particular week, I was $847 short. And the facility director had told me pretty clearly that if I didn't have the payment by November 1st, my mom would be discharged. So yeah, I was desperate. That's important to understand. I was the kind of desperate that makes you do things you know are wrong. I'd been driving for DoorDash for 8 months by then. It wasn't glamorous work most days. I made around $180 after gas, but it kept food on the table and kept my mom in a place where people knew her name, even if she couldn't remember theirs anymore. Halloween week had surge pricing, so I planned to work 18-hour shifts from October 29th through the 31st, push myself hard, make up that $847, and then maybe sleep for a week straight. The first 6 hours of October 29th were completely normal. I'm talking boring normal. I delivered 31 orders between 5 p.m. and 11 p.m. Thai food, burritos, poke bowls, all the usual stuff. Made $287, including tips. I was exhausted but on track. Then, at 11:34 p.m., my phone pinged with a pickup at something called Chen's Specialty Foods in Chinatown. The delivery fee was $85, which was insane. I'd never seen anything that high before. Most deliveries were $8 to $15. But I figured maybe it was a catering order or something fancy for a late-night party, so I accepted it. The address took me to an enforcance. Unmarked door squeezed between 2 tourist shops selling cable car magnets and I Love SF sweatshirts. I knocked. This elegant woman in her 40s wearing a business suit answered. She introduced herself as Miss Zhao, the owner, and then she said something that should have been my first warning sign. "You're Marcus Rivera? I requested you specifically." I asked her what she meant. I didn't even know drivers could be requested specifically. She smiled this polite, professional smile and said, "I looked at driver profiles. You have a perfect rating, 2,847 deliveries, 0 violations. I need someone reliable for a special delivery, hence the high fee." Looking back now, I can see how calculated that was. She was flattering me while simultaneously telling me she'd been watching me, researching me. But at the time, I just felt kind of proud. Stupid, right? Miss Zhao disappeared into the back and returned with an insulated delivery bag, the kind that keeps food hot or cold. It was about 2 feet cubed and heavy. I'm talking 50+ pounds. She set it down carefully and said, "Temperature-sensitive biological samples going to a medical research facility in Oakland. Must arrive by 1 a.m. You'll receive $400 cash on delivery." I knew immediately something was wrong. DoorDash doesn't do medical deliveries. This violated about 12 different terms of service, but $400 would complete my mother's payment with $140 left over. I heard myself asking, why not use a proper medical courier? She had her answer ready. Time sensitive. Our regular courier canceled. The facility closes at 1 a.m., and if these samples don't arrive tonight, 6 months of research is wasted. Please, I'm desperate. She handed me $85 in cash right there, the other $315 on delivery. I stood there holding that heavy bag, and I heard this quiet mechanical humming coming from inside. Maybe a refrigeration unit, I thought. I knew this was wrong. I knew it. But I thought about my mom's face. When I'd visited her the day before, she'd looked at me like I was a stranger asking for directions. I thought about the facility director's sympathetic expression when she'd explained the discharge policy, and I put the bag in my car. The drive across the Bay Bridge started normal enough. It was 11:52 p.m., light traffic, and the bag sat in my passenger seat, humming away with that steady, mechanical rhythm. I told myself it was just lab samples, blood cultures, maybe, tissue samples, research stuff, nothing sinister, just a weird delivery that paid well because of the time crunch. Then at 12:08 a.m., approaching Oakland, the humming changed pitch. It became irregular. And underneath it, I heard something else, this faint scratching sound, like fingernails on fabric from inside the bag. I cranked up the radio, Told myself it was ice shifting, the refrigeration unit adjusting, anything but what my gut was screaming at me. My hands were sweating on the steering wheel. My phone buzzed. A text from a number not in my contacts. Marcus, delivery address is 2847 Industrial Parkway. Unit 7B. Give package to Dr. Reeves, only. Do not open bag, do not ask questions. Your mother's facility payment depends on completion. The mention of my mother made my blood run cold. I'd never told Miss Zhao about my mom, never mentioned the care facility, the payment, any of it. How did she know? I pulled over onto the shoulder and just sat there, staring at that bag as it hummed and scratched in the passenger seat. Another text came through. Your mother is Patricia Rivera, 71, Alzheimer's, resident of Sunrise Memory Care, $6,200 divided by month. You're short $847. I know because I looked you up before hiring you. I needed someone with real need, someone who wouldn't ask questions. That's when I understood. This wasn't random. Miss Zhao had researched me, found my pressure point, and chosen me specifically because I was desperate enough to compromise. This was recruitment, not just a delivery. I sat in that pulled-over car for 11 minutes. I thought about calling the police, but reporting an illegal delivery meant losing my DoorDash account entirely, which meant no income at all, which meant no way to make my mother's payment regardless. I was trapped. At 12:31 a.m., the bag moved. Visibly moved. Something inside pressed against the fabric, and I saw the clear outline of a small hand, a child-sized hand pressing from inside. 5 fingers spread against the insulated material. I watched it slide down the interior, like someone trapped was trying to find an exit. Then I heard a muffled sound from inside. It might have been a voice. It might have been a cry. It was definitely human. I called the number. Miss Zhao answered immediately. "What's in the bag?" I asked. Long silence. Then, "Something that needs to arrive by 1 a.m. You agreed to the delivery. Do you want to back out?" "I'm calling the police," I said. She laughed. "Not mean, just matter of fact." "No, you're not. Because police means investigation. Investigation means admitting you accepted an illegal delivery. Means losing everything. Means Patricia gets discharged anyway. It's 12:37 a.m. You have 23 minutes to reach the Oakland facility, make the delivery, collect your payment, and go home. Tomorrow you pay your mother's bill and forget this happened. Or you can destroy your life right now to save someone who's already at the facility." I drove. God help me, I drove. The bag kept scratching and humming. That small hand pressed against the fabric occasionally. I turned the radio up as loud as it would go and drove exactly the speed limit. Industrial Parkway was an abandoned warehouse district. Unit 7B had lights on an unmarked building with 3 black SUVs parked outside and a camera above the door. Clearly an active facility, but not a legitimate business. I knocked. A man in surgical scrubs opened the door late 50 seconds. Calm expression, no name tag. "You're the delivery driver," he said. Not a question. "You have the package from Miss Zhao?" Dr. Reeves, I assumed. He took the bag gently and laid it on a metal table just inside the door. When he unzipped it partially, I saw a child's face inside. A girl, maybe 9 years old, unconscious with an oxygen mask on. Definitely alive. I started backing away. Dr. Reeves said calmly, "She's sedated, not dead. She's going to proper medical care. This is a complex situation you don't understand. Here's your $315. Leave now and forget this." I couldn't move. Couldn't speak. "Doctor," Reeves sighed. "You're the delivery driver, not the ethics committee. Take your money and go." The girl started moving. Her eyes fluttered. "Doctor." Reeves cursed and called into the facility. 2 more people in scrubs came out and started wheeling the bag inside. The girl's eyes opened. She looked directly at me, and she mouthed 2 words. "Help me." I stood frozen. They wheeled her through the door. She disappeared into the facility. Dr. Reeves held out the cash. My hand reached for it automatically, muscle memory of transaction. I took the money. "Drive safe," Dr. Reeves said. "Forget this address." The door closed. Multiple deadbolts locked. I stood in that parking lot holding $315 in cash with that girl's face burned into my mind. Then another car pulled up, a different DoorDash driver, younger guy in his 20s, looking nervous. He went to the door, was handed a similar insulated bag. I watched him load it carefully into his car and drive away. This was an assembly line. Miss Zhao and whoever she worked for were doing this regularly, using multiple delivery drivers, exploiting the gig economy to traffic children. And I'd just become part of the network. I drove home. It was 1:23 a.m. I had $400 total in my pocket, enough to pay my mother's bill with money left over. I vomited twice on the drive, pulled over at a rest stop and sobbed in the parking lot for half an hour. At 2:15 a.m., I drove to the SFPD station, sat in the parking lot for 40 minutes. I couldn't make myself go inside. What would I say? I knowingly delivered a kidnapped child? I'd be arrested. My mother would lose her care anyway. I checked my phone. All the texts from Miss Zhao's number were deleted. My call history showed no record of any calls. The number I'd called now said disconnected. The evidence had been erased. I looked up 2847 Industrial Parkway. Property records showed a vacant warehouse, no business licenses, no Dr. Reeves in any Oakland medical directory. The facility was a ghost. At 3:47 a.m., I called Oakland PD from a payphone, gave an anonymous tip about suspicious activity at that address. The officer said they'd send a patrol car. I waited nearby and watched. 2 patrol cars arrived at 4:20 a.m. They checked Unit 7B. The building was empty. Lights off. No vehicles. No equipment. The facility had vanished. On October 30th at 9 a.m., I deposited the $400 cash and paid my mother's facility bill. The director smiled and thanked me, said Patricia would be so happy I was taking care of her. Patricia wouldn't remember. But I guess that wasn't the point. I obsessively checked news reports for missing children. Found 3 kids reported missing from the Bay Area on October 29th, 2 boys aged 8 and 11, and a girl aged 9 who matched the one I'd seen, all from low-income families, minimal media coverage. Nobody seemed to care much. On November 5th, I got a new text from a different number. Marcus, this is Miss Chen. I work with Miss Zhao. We have another delivery opportunity for you. $500 this time. November 7th. Are you interested? I stared at that text for an hour. Then my mother's facility called. She'd had a fall. Needed extra medical care that would cost $340. Insurance wouldn't cover it. I needed money. My phone buzzed again. I know about the fall. I know you need $340. This delivery is easy, just like last time. Do you want to help your mother? On November 7th at 11 p.m., I accepted the second delivery. I told myself I'd document everything, collect evidence, bring down the network. That was the rationalization of a coward. Really, I just needed the money. Really, I was already damned. I delivered a second child, a boy, 11 years old, sedated in a similar bag to a different location in Richmond. Got my $500. The facility vanished after I left. I reported it to police anonymously. They found nothing. A third request came on November 19th. It's June 2025 now. I've done 23 deliveries, made $9,200. My mother's care is fully paid. I've stopped reporting to police, stopped checking missing children reports, stopped pretending I'm a victim. I accepted that I'm a perpetrator. Last month, Miss Chen called with an offer. Coordinator position. Recruit other drivers. $5,000 a month plus delivery fees. I said I'd think about it. I coordinate 12 drivers now. We operate in San Francisco, Oakland, San Jose, Sacramento. I make $8,000 a month. My mother has the best care in the Bay Area. I pay for everything. I see her twice a week. She doesn't recognize me. I don't recognize me either. I've delivered 47 children over 8 months. I know exactly what happens to them. I know it's organ trafficking, medical experimentation, things worse than death. And I do it because I need money, and because it's easy, and because I already did it once. I'm telling you this not because I want to get caught. I won't send this anywhere that matters. I'm telling you because you need to understand how it works, how normal people become monsters, not through violence or sudden dramatic choice, but through desperation and incremental compromise. I delivered food for 8 months. Then I delivered one child, then another. Then I stopped thinking of them as children. They became packages, deliveries, job tasks, and that's how trafficking survives through people like me, through Marcus's, through people who need $847 and will do anything to get it. I'm 42 years old. I'm someone's son. I was someone's employee. I'm a good delivery driver. 4.9 stars. Very reliable. And I'm a monster. And you probably could be too, given the right pressure, the right price, the right moment of desperation. That's the disturbing truth I learned in October 2024. Evil doesn't announce itself. It offers $400 and asks you to drive. And most of us, if we're honest, would drive. I'm 29 now, working remote IT support out of a cabin near Asheville, North Carolina. Got the place cheap because the last tenant broke their lease early, didn't ask why at the time, figured it was just city people not cut out for mountain living. I'd spent 5 years in a Charlotte apartment complex, where I could hear my neighbors arguing through the walls, and I was done with all that. Wanted quiet, wanted space, wanted to wake up to something other than traffic. Found this place on Craigslist, 1,200 square feet, wraparound porch, 2 acres of woods, 20 minutes outside town. The landlord, this old guy named Vernon, met me there with the keys and spent about 10 minutes showing me around. Told me the well water was good, the propane was full, and the internet was decent enough for my work. Then, right as he was leaving, he stopped at the door and said something I didn't think much of at the time. Don't feed anything that comes around after dark. I laughed. He figured he meant bears or raccoons. He didn't laugh back. Just handed me the keys and left. First 2 weeks were perfect. I set up my desk by the big window overlooking the woods, hung blackout curtains in the bedroom, learned which floorboards creaked. The work was easy password resets, printer issues, walking people through basic troubleshooting. I'd take my lunch on the porch, listening to the wind move through the trees. Evenings I'd cook something simple, read a book, go to bed early. It was exactly what I'd wanted. Quiet, peaceful, mine. The scratching started on the 3rd week. First time I heard it, I was halfway through a support ticket around 11 at night. Soft sound, rhythmic, coming from the back door. Sounded like a dog pawing to get in. I got up, flipped on the porch light, looked through the window. Nothing there. Went back to work. 10 minutes later, it started again. Same spot, same rhythm. I opened the door this time, shined my phone flashlight into the dark. Empty. Porch. Trees swaying a little. I closed the door, locked it, told myself it was a branch or something. It happened every night after that. Always around 11. Always the back door. Always stopped when I checked. By the end of the first month, I'd gotten used to it. Just background noise, like the house settling or the wind. I'd hear the scratching, ignore it, keep working. But then one night I noticed something that made my stomach drop. I'd been hearing it for maybe 5 minutes, that steady scratch, 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 when I realized the rhythm had changed. It wasn't random anymore. It was consistent, deliberate, like someone tapping their fingers in a pattern. I got up real slow, walked to the back door, and listened close. The scratching stopped. Then I heard it soft, right on the other side of the wood breathing. Not panting like a dog. Just slow, steady human breathing. "Who's there?" My voice cracked. The breathing stopped. Footsteps moved across the porch, heavy and slow. Not running, just walking away. I stood there for maybe 5 minutes, phone in my hand, trying to decide if I should call someone. But what would I say? Someone was breathing on my porch? They'd tell me it was an animal. So I locked both deadbolts, checked every window, and went to bed with my pocket knife on the nightstand. Next morning, I found the marks. 4 parallel scratches in the wood of the back door, deep enough that I could fit my fingernail into the grooves. I took a picture, sent it to Vernon. He called me back within 10 minutes. "You been feeding anything?" "No." "What the hell made these marks?" Long pause. "You want out of the lease?" "I want to know what's scratching my door." Another pause. "People around here call them ridge walkers. Don't really know what they are. Some folks say they're just people gone wrong, lived in the woods too long, forgot how to be human. Others say they were never human to start with. All I know is they come around, sometimes, usually at night, usually when someone's alone. They're curious. They watch. They try to figure out how things work. doors, windows, locks. You're telling me there's someone living in these woods who scratches on doors? I'm telling you not to feed them, not to talk to them, not to let them in. You do that, you'll be fine. Last tenant didn't listen. What happened to the last tenant? Vernon hung up. I should have left right then. Packed my stuff, broke the lease, found a new place. But I'd already paid first and last month's rent, already shipped my furniture, already told everyone I was done with city living. And part of me didn't believe it. Ridge walkers. Sounded like campfire bullshit. That night, the scratching came back. But this time, it was at my bedroom window. I was lying in bed, scrolling through my phone, when I heard it. Same sound, same rhythm. I froze. My bedroom was on the second floor. There was nothing outside that window except a 12-foot drop in dirt. The scratching moved across the glass, slow and methodical. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Just stared at the blackout curtains, watching them shift slightly as something moved on the other side. Then I heard it, that breathing again. Right up against the window. Slow. Patient. I know you're in there. The voice was wrong, flat, like someone trying to remember how words worked. Can you let me in? I grabbed my phone, hands shaking so bad I could barely hold it. Called 911, whispered that someone was outside my window. The dispatcher said she'd send a deputy, told me to stay inside, keep the doors locked. It took 20 minutes for him to show up. By then, the scratching had stopped. The deputy walked the property with his flashlight, checked the woods, looked up at my bedroom window, came back and knocked on my door. No signs of anyone, no footprints, no disturbed ground. You sure you heard something? I showed him the scratches on the back door. He frowned, ran his finger along them. Could be a bear. Bears don't talk. He looked at me different then. Not like he thought I was lying. More like he was trying to decide something. You're the one renting Vernon's place? Yeah. He tell you about the ridge walkers? Little bit, the deputy nodded slowly. They're real. Don't know what they are, but they're real. Had a couple of hikers report seeing someone following them on the Appalachian Trail segment about 10 miles north of here. Always at dusk, always just out of clear sight. Park rangers find camps sometimes, back in the deep woods, lean-tos made from branches, bones arranged in circles, that kind of thing. Whatever they are, they don't usually hurt people. They just watch. Learn. My advice? Don't engage. Don't respond. They lose interest eventually. He left after that. I didn't sleep that night. Just sat in bed with my knife, listening. The scratching didn't come back, but 3 nights later, I found something on my porch. I was taking out the trash around dusk when I saw it sitting right in front of the back door, arranged neat and careful. A circle of pine cones, maybe 2 feet across. In the center was a dead rabbit, gutted clean, organs laid out in a row, and next to it, a fork from my kitchen. The fork I'd lost 2 weeks ago when I thought I'd accidentally thrown it away. They'd been inside. I packed a bag that night, called a motel in Asheville, booked a room. But before I left, I did something stupid. I grabbed my phone, turned on the flashlight, and walked to the edge of the woods behind the cabin. I needed to see, needed to know what I was running from. I didn't have to go far. About 30 feet into the trees, I found a path narrow, winding, too deliberate to be made by deer. I followed it. The trees got denser, darker. And then, I saw it. A lean-to, built between 3 trees. The shelter was made from branches and bark, but inside was organized. Piles of human objects, clothes, tools, dishes, all arranged by type, and on the ground, scratched into the dirt, were words. The same words, over and over, in messy handwriting like someone practicing. Asterisk, let me in, let me in, let me in, let me in. Times I heard a branch snap behind me, turned. Saw a shape between the trees, maybe 20 feet away. Tall. Too tall. Moving wrong, like joints bending the way they shouldn't. It stepped forward, into a shaft of moonlight. It looked human. Almost. The proportions were off, arms too long, legs too thin, face too smooth. It was wearing clothes, jeans and a jacket, filthy and torn. And it was staring at me with eyes that didn't blink. Let me in, it said, same flat voice. Please let me in, I'm cold. I ran. Didn't look back. Didn't stop until I hit the cabin, grabbed my bag, got in my car. I drove straight to the motel and didn't go back for 2 weeks. When I finally did, with Vernon and the deputy both there, the lean-to was gone. So was the circle of pine cones. The scratches on the door were still there, though. Vernon let me out of the lease. I found a place closer to town, 4th floor of an apartment building. I still work remote, still live in North Carolina, but I don't do quiet anymore, don't do isolated. I need to hear neighbors through the walls, need to hear traffic, need to know I'm not alone, because some things don't want to hurt you, they just want to understand you. Want to learn how you work, want to figure out what you are, so they can try being it too. And the worst part? I think it was learning. Getting better. That thing in the woods knew my name by the end, knew which window was mine, knew how to say, please. I still wonder sometimes what would have happened if I'd let it in, if it would have hurt me, or just sat there, watching, learning how to be human. But I'm glad I didn't find out. Some doors are meant to stay locked, some things are meant to stay outside, and some scratching isn't supposed to be answered. I'm 36 years old, and I've been doing volunteer search and rescue in the Sierra Nevada for 8 years now. Found 23 lost hikers alive, recovered 7 bodies. I work as an electrician in Fresno during the week, then spend most weekends hiking into the mountains looking for people who got lost or hurt. It's good work, honest work. You save lives, you bring families closure, you feel like you're doing something that matters. In October 2024, I tracked something that looked like a hiker but wasn't, and when I radioed it in, SAR Command knew exactly what it was and sent me out there anyway. That's when I learned some people aren't lost at all, they're exactly where they want to be. My name's Tom Bradford. I've lived in Fresno my whole life, grew up hiking these mountains with my dad. When I got into SAR work, it felt natural. I'm trained in tracking, wilderness medicine, rope rescue, the whole package. I do maybe 30 to 40 call-outs a year. Most of them are straightforward. Hiker gets turned around, we follow their tracks, bring them out dehydrated but fine. Sometimes it's worse. Sometimes you're looking for someone who fell, or had a heart attack, or made a bad decision and didn't make it. That's part of it. You accept that going in. October 22nd, I got paged at 6 in the morning. Male hiker, 28, overdue from solo trip in Kaiser Wilderness. Last contact yesterday at 2 p.m., coordinates provided. Assemble team for search. Standard stuff. I grabbed my gear and drove to the staging area. Got there around 8 a.m. with my coffee still warm. The briefing was where things got weird. Our SAR coordinator is this guy named Mitchell 50 Seconds, ex-military, runs everything by the book. He's the kind of guy who doesn't waste words. He gave us the rundown. Hiker's name was David Chen, experienced backpacker, all the right gear, knew what he was doing. But then Mitchell said something that didn't sit right. His last coordinates place him in Rattlesnake Canyon. We're going to avoid that area. Search the surrounding zones only. I knew Rattlesnake Canyon. Deep, isolated drainage, no real trails. It's not off limits exactly, but SAR has this unofficial policy about staying out. When I asked why, Mitchell just said, wildlife concerns, stay out. There's plenty of other areas to search. Wildlife concerns. In October, when most animals are preparing for winter, not being aggressive, I got paired with Amy, a 9-year-old paramedic who'd been doing SAR for about 3 years. Good partner, level-headed. We started our search at 9 a.m. in the zone north of Rattlesnake Canyon. Spent 5 hours covering every inch of our assigned area. No tracks, no gear, no signs anyone had been through there in weeks. By 2 p.m., we had nothing. I radioed Mitchell, no signs in designated zone, requesting permission to check Rattlesnake Canyon. Long pause, then, negative. Return to staging. I looked at Amy. She was thinking the same thing I was. That hiker's probably dead in that canyon, and we're ignoring it. At 3 p.m., we made a decision. We hiked into Rattlesnake Canyon without authorization. We both knew it meant discipline, maybe getting kicked off the team, but you don't leave a search area unchecked when that's where the missing person probably is. That's not how this works. The terrain got rougher as we followed the drainage downward. Steep rock faces, thick brush, the kind of place you need to watch every step. At 4:15 p.m., we found David Chen's backpack sitting on a flat rock, still full. Water, food, tent, first aid kit, nothing missing. Like he'd just set it down to take a break and walked away. No signs of struggle, no blood, no tears in the fabric from animal claws. Just abandoned. Then we found the tracks. Barefoot human tracks, heading deeper into the canyon. But they were wrong. The toes were too long, stretched out. The stride was too wide. I measured it at 8 feet between prints. And the pressure points were off. When you walk, your heel hits first, then your weight rolls forward to your toes. These prints showed weight distributed evenly, like whatever made them was walking flat-footed or floating slightly. Amy and I looked at each other. We both knew we should turn back right then. We didn't. We followed those tracks for another hour. The terrain got worse, places where you'd need climbing gear to get through safely. But the prints just continued, casual as anything, across vertical rock faces and narrow ledges 6 inches wide. At one point, the tracks showed the thing had jumped a 12-foot gap between boulders. Not climbed down and back up, jumped straight across. That's when we found the GoPro. It was attached to a tree with a mount, lens pointed at the trail. I'd been through this area on previous searches. That camera hadn't been there before. I checked the footage. It showed David Chen hiking yesterday afternoon, moving at a good pace. Then he stops. Just freezes mid-step, staring at something off camera. For maybe 30 seconds, he doesn't move at all. Then he sits down, takes off his boots, strips off his jacket and shirt, stands up and walks out of frame, calmly. Like he was heading to the bathroom. The audio was worse. His voice, "I understand. I'm coming. Yes, I'll follow you." Speaking to something that wasn't visible on the camera. And then his voice changed. Got this harmonic quality to it, like he was singing along with something else, a duet of his human voice and something that sounded like wind through a pipe organ. We found another tent a mile further in. Boulder, more weathered. I checked the gear inside and found a name tag, Sarah Rodriguez. I remembered that case, 2023, experienced hiker, never found. Her journal was still in the tent. The last entry read, "I hear singing from the canyon, most beautiful sound I've ever heard. I need to find the source." That's when I understood. Multiple hikers had disappeared here, all experienced. All abandoned their gear, all walked away voluntarily toward something. At 5:45 p.m., we heard it. It started like wind through caves, but melodic, like voices singing without words, harmonizing in ways human voices can't. Beautiful doesn't even cover it. It was the most compelling sound I've ever heard, and I've never been into music. Amy grabbed my arm. "We should follow that sound." I pulled her back. "No, that's what got the hikers." She yanked away from me, and her eyes had this distant look. "You don't understand. It's showing me things. My dead sister is down there. I can hear her calling me. She wants me to come." Amy's sister died in a car accident when Amy was 16. She'd told me about it once. How she never got to say goodbye. I had to physically restrain her. She fought me, clawing at my arms, trying to get free. This was Amy calm, professional Amy acting like someone under hypnosis. I radioed Mitchell, hands shaking. "We're in Rattlesnake Canyon. We found evidence of the missing hiker. There's some kind of lure mechanism down here. Amy's compromised, need immediate extraction." Mitchell's voice came back flat, emotionless. "No extraction available. Exit canyon on foot. Avoid the sound source. Do not engage." "What are you talking about? We need backup." "Canyon is a known wildlife area, protected species. Do not engage. Do not investigate the sound source. Extract yourselves. This is a direct order." Then he killed the radio. We'd been abandoned. I got Amy tied to a tree. She agreed during a moment of lucidity, made me promise to do it. She was crying, begging me to let her go, saying her sister was waiting. I told her I'd check the source of the sound, document what was down there, and come back for her. I followed the singing to a massive cave entrance. The sound echoed from deep inside, reverberating through stone. I turned on my headlamp and went in carefully. The main chamber was huge, cathedral-sized, and the walls were covered in something organic. It pulsed slowly, like breathing. I shined my light closer. The walls weren't rock. They were living tissue, flesh-colored, warm when I touched them, contracting and expanding in a slow rhythm. The entire cave system was the interior of something massive, something alive, something that extended for miles underground. The chamber ahead glowed with bioluminescence, soft blue-green light. I heard multiple voices singing, human voices mixed with others. I rounded the corner. 7 naked people stood in a circle, singing in perfect unison. Their chests were opened, ribs spread wide like wings. Inside each person's chest cavity was a translucent organism, jellyfish-like, pulsing in rhythm with the singing. The creatures were attached to their hearts and lungs, feeding but keeping them alive. The people's faces showed ecstasy. They were aware. They were willing. I recognized David Chen immediately. He'd been in the cave less than 24 hours, but his chest was already opened, organism already integrated into his body. He saw me and smiled. "You found me. Thank you. I'm home now." I recognized Sarah Rodriguez from the missing persons photo. I recognized 3 others from cases going back 5 years. All integrated, all singing, all claiming they'd found purpose. I tried talking to Chen. "David, you're being parasitized. We need to get you medical help." He laughed. "Parasitized? No, we're joined, symbiotic. They give us bliss, we give them host bodies. Everyone benefits." One of the jellyfish creatures pulsed brighter, and I heard a voice directly inside my head. "Hello, Thomas Bradford. We are Resonance Colony. We've lived in these caves for 4,000 years. We mean no harm to humans. We only join with willing participants." The voice was calm, patient, like a teacher explaining something simple to a child. "We emit a harmonic frequency that reveals itself to humans as beautiful singing. Those who hear it and follow are psychologically compatible, seeking transcendence. We provide it through biological merger. The host experiences continuous euphoria." I backed toward the wall, heart hammering. "You're killing them. We're transforming them. Not all humans are compatible. Most hear our singing as just wind, only 2% hear it as beautiful, only 0.1% are compelled to follow. Those are the ones we can join with. A self-selecting process. Everyone consents." "The government knows about you," I said. "It wasn't a question. Your organization reached an agreement with us in 1987. We take only willing hosts who come seeking us. They declare us a protected species, post warnings, maintain plausible deniability. The system works well." The organism showed me a vision, then projected it directly into my brain. It showed me what integration would feel like. Complete euphoria. Peace beyond anything I'd ever experienced. It showed my difficult childhood, my dad's drinking, the nights I spent hiding in my room, and it showed all that pain being healed. Erased. Replaced with bliss. I wanted it. God help me, I wanted it so badly. But I thought about Amy tied to that tree. I thought about my nephew, who's 12 and looks up to me. I thought about the 23 hikers I'd saved who went home to their families. I thought about life beyond myself. "No," I said. "We understand. You have attachments. You're not compatible. You may leave, but you cannot reveal our location. You cannot interfere with our colony. The agreement protects us. You're bound by your organization's contract." I turned to leave, but the cave entrance was blocked by a translucent barrier, shimmering like oil on water. "We said you may leave, but first you must demonstrate you won't violate the agreement. We'll test your commitment." I heard footsteps behind me. Amy stumbled into the chamber. She'd broken free from the restraints, followed the singing. She stood at the entrance, tears streaming down her face. "Tom, do you hear it? It's so beautiful. I want to stay. My sister's here." One of the integrated hosts spoke with Amy's dead sister's voice, perfect mimicry, pulled from Amy's memories. "Amy, I'm here. Join us. We can be together, no more pain." The organism's voice returned to my head. "Here is your test, Thomas. Amy wants to join us. She's compatible. We'll accept her. You can either let her join willingly or try to force her to leave. If you use force, you break the agreement. We can defend ourselves." Amy approached the circle, started pulling off her jacket. I grabbed her arm. "Amy, this isn't real. Your sister isn't here. You're being manipulated." She screamed at me. "Let me go. This is my choice. You don't get to decide for me." And she was right. She was an adult, conscious, verbally consenting. I had no legal right to restrain her, but I knew it was predatory. I knew the bliss was chemical manipulation. I knew she'd die in this cave, slowly consumed over months or years. I let her go. I watched her approach the circle, watched an organism descend from the cave ceiling, translucent body rippling. It attached to her chest. She gasped, not in pain but in pleasure. She started singing. I ran. The barrier dissolved, and I ran through the cave, back to the entrance, out into the canyon. Behind me, I heard the organism's voice one last time. Thank you for respecting choice. You may leave. I emerged from the cave at 8:30 p.m. and radioed Mitchell with shaking hands. I found David Chen and Sarah Rodriguez. They're integrated with an underground organism colony. Amy chose to stay. I'm coming out alone. A helicopter extracted me at 9 p.m. Mitchell was waiting with a folder. You saw the resonance. You let Amy join. Good. You followed protocol. Understand this is classified. You'll sign an NDA. You'll never speak of this. He showed me a document from 1987A, Federal Agreement with Resonance Colony, designating Rattlesnake Canyon as protected habitat. SAR teams were briefed to avoid the area, let compatible humans find the colony naturally, maintain a non-interference policy. Colony takes maybe 3 or 4 people a year, Mitchell said. All willing, all adults, all seeking transcendence. In exchange, they remain hidden, don't expand territory, don't actively recruit. It's an acceptable loss. The alternative was trying to eradicate them. That cost 40 soldiers' lives in 1986. I signed the NDA under legal threat. They gave me $50,000 as a hazard payment. I went home, I couldn't sleep. Couldn't stop thinking about Amy singing in that cave, about David Chen's open chest, about the bliss on their faces. I quit SAR the next week. Couldn't participate in a system that knowingly fed people to an underground colony. But I still checked the missing persons reports. 4 more people went missing in Rattlesnake Canyon in October 2025. All experienced hikers. All left their gear behind. There's a predatory organism living under the Sierra Nevada. It's been there for 4,000 years. It lures compatible humans with psychic singing. It integrates them into its colony. They experience euphoria while being slowly consumed. And the federal government knows. They've decided that 3 or 4 willing victims per year is a fair price for not fighting a war they can't win. I helped. I let Amy go. I respected her choice even though I knew she was being manipulated. I don't know if that was right. I don't know if consent means anything when you're under psychic influence. I don't know if I saved her autonomy or if I murdered her. But I know the colony is still there, still singing, still waiting for compatible humans to hear it and follow. SAR teams are still briefed to avoid Rattlesnake Canyon, still told wildlife concerns, still kept ignorant until they see what I saw. Then they're paid off and silenced. Hikers keep disappearing. Families keep getting told, lost in wilderness, body not recovered. The truth is they're not lost, they're found. They found what they were unconsciously seeking, something offering bliss. And they accepted. They're singing in the dark right now, 40 feet underground, while organisms slowly digest them over months or years. And they're happy, genuinely happy, happier than they ever were in normal life. That's what haunts me most. Not that they're suffering, but that they're not. They chose euphoric death over painful life. And part of me understands. Part of me wanted it too. That's the real horror. Not the creature, but the fact that being eaten alive by an underground organism is appealing to some humans. We're that desperate for transcendence, for peace, for escape from ourselves. The resonance colony knows it. They're patient. They'll be there for 4,000 more years, singing their beautiful song. Some of us will hear it, some of us will follow. And the government will let us, because what else can they do? Force people to stay miserable? Fight a war against an organism integrated into miles of cave system? They chose the practical option, the utilitarian option, acceptable loss. And I'm part of that now. I'm complicit. I think about Amy every day. I wonder if she's still alive down there, still singing, still experiencing bliss while being consumed. I wonder if I should have saved her, or if I did save her in a way, by letting her find what she needed, even if what she needed was to be eaten.